Hi Hotcorn, I'm Jessica Brown Findlay and I'm here to talk about my character Charlotte Wells from the TV series Harlots.
Since they introduced both for Italian and international audience, in Italy we haven't seen Harlots yet, but the international audience of course they have.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us why do you think it's relevant for women today to have a serious subject like that?
Mm-hmm. I think Harlots is a very relevant show. It's a period piece, but what we're really talking about is the rights of women, their rights of their own autonomy, and sort of political rights, and sex workers, and what that is, and it's a really relevant show. I think it's really exciting. There's a lot of empowered women and a lot of women who are not empowered, and through, I think, amazing female friendships on screen, these women come together and sort of raise each other up, and I think that's really exciting to see. My experience of playing the range of women that I've been able to play, and I suppose the comparison from like playing a lady and playing a harlot, is that in a patriarchal society, basically your rights are the same, which is you don't have any, and it's really interesting because obviously like the perspective and the background and the costumes are different, but we're fundamentally talking about the same thing, and both Lady Sybil and Charlotte Wells are sort of have a hugely rebellious streak, but the way in which they're able to express them are completely different. Their surroundings and their situations are very different, but it's essentially without rights. So I think, they really share that, and but I think it's interesting actually how many women, sort of female characters, obviously have that kind of similar thread running through, but it's mostly because that story, of course that's the story being told so often from history, because that is the story from history, which is like there have been no rights for so long. So that's really interesting to play.
Since you mentioned the costume in this period drama, are you addicted to fashion? Do you think it's an art that can express ourselves and now what you like to wear? And have you ever think about maybe an era from the past, a time in the past that we will love to spend at least 1 week in?
Mm-hmm. I've certainly, working as an actor, I've certainly been able to dress up and use costume as a huge way and means in which to get into a character, into a period especially. And fashion for me is, I'm completely obsessed. I love it. I use it every day in order to express sort of a different side of myself. I use it like an armor. When I go into a meeting, I will dress for that sometimes because I want to go in and be like, listen to me. And I think women often use clothes more in order to go out into the world, because we're having to show so many different sides of ourselves, and I think it's harder to get noticed. But I love recently what Gucci's been doing. I just think is awesome. I'm completely obsessed. I wander around the shops and sort of just try on things all the time and leave. But I adore some of the fashion houses. Are brilliant, and I shop sort of vintage clothes all the time. And yeah.
Have you, as a child, do you remember any idol or any role model that you had, and maybe someone in the show business that can be as a guest star in Harlots, maybe?
Growing up, I had two posters on my wall. One was Rudolf Nureyev, and the other was George Harrison. David Bowie is my other sort of, like, he's my fashion idol, actually. He's got the coolest dress sense in the world. But thinking of people who could be in Harlots, I mean, I'd like to think Bowie would have been brilliant in Harlots. He would have been welcomed into the Wales House anytime. But people who could come in, I mean, quite often as well, actually most of my idols are like writers. So many female poets that I love. Wendy Cope, you know, Elizabeth Bishop and Sylvia Plath and people like that. But yeah, I don't think they could come to the show. Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, in the season 2 we will see Liv Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been a Lord of the Rings fan yourself? Are you a sci-fi fantasy geek?
So working with Liv is phenomenal. She's maybe the sweetest person ever. Really fun and creative to work with, and really got what Harlots was, sort of really threw herself into that world. And she's sort of, you know, on the outside, she's playing someone of immense stature, but has exactly the same problem that someone like Charlotte from zero money has, which is no autonomy of your body and no rights within sort of the society that you're in, and they have a real bond there. My friends who, friends of mine, we were actually all watching Lord of the Rings over, what was it, New Year? Anyway, and we're all sort of snuggled up sort of quite late at night watching Lord of the Rings, and I was like, just work with her, and their faces dropped. They were like, what did you do? I was like, I'm not telling you, I have to watch. But it was a dream, yeah.
And your dream to join maybe a franchise, you know, that you are a fan of, let's say Star Trek, Star Wars, and Fantastic Beasts. Have you any franchise that you are addicted to that you would like to do just a cameo, just to be in this world, this magical world?
Definitely. I mean, I grew up. The first Harry Potter book was released when I was the same age as Harry, and I just completely grew up with him. I'd queue up to, you know, get the books at midnight, stay up reading them all night. I'm very dyslexic, so it would take me a very long time, but I love those books and those stories. I think they're incredibly responsible for an entire new generation of people who books are actually really important to. And I think if I could just have a wand for a day and a robe, just give me it. That would be amazing. I just think it's really exciting. I love that. I love that sort of that world.
You was a ballerina, a dancer in
Mm-hmm.
the previous stage of your career. Do you miss that? And what's your favorite song on the dance floor? I mean, do you enjoy the dance just for fun, not for
Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm having trained as a ballet dancer, and like that side of my life. I mean, it was 16 years that I trained for, and it was everything. And I think I'd love to be able to use those skills within a role. I'd love to sort of, not necessarily doing ballet in a film, I mean sort of more just like the physicality of in a role, and being able to sort of be physical, or like, you know, maybe just really kick ass and like be able to like train and do something would be really exciting. But on the dance floor, I mean, I love dancing. I don't need anyone to remotely encourage me to get onto a dance floor. It's so getting me off it is the challenge. I was at a wedding recently, and there was a ceilidh, and which was an incredibly good fun. And then the dance floor, I was on it until it was like, go home, leave now. But if you play any David Bowie, I'm gonna get up and dance always.
I would like to ask you, just out of curiosity, what makes you happy in the morning? What the perfect day looks like to you? Something, as I am Italian, for me, the smell of coffee when I open my eyes, it seems like home to me. There is something, you know, that
thing that makes me happy in the morning is my room's very bright. I have sort of, I don't have curtains. I like to wake up naturally with the sun. So when it's the summer and it's bright, and I walk through to my living room, there's just a park where I live, and so I just like seeing people walking through the park. I sit with a coffee. I do meditation every morning and every evening, and that makes me very happy and very calm. And just being able to have time in the morning to sort of sit and watch the world go by with a good cup of coffee is kind of, that's it really. Thank you.